Good morning and you're welcome to the AM show. Now, to all the non-mask wearing, no hand washing, non-sanitizers, all those shaking hands and hugging anyhow, I wish to announce to you that Ghana has 2,434 active cases of COVID-19, which has killed 1,167 people so far, officially in the country. Yes, COVID-19 is still real, even though for many the virus is gone or is no longer a threat. Yes, I know we hardly talk about COVID-19 as we used to. And the last time the president addressed us as fellow Ghanaians was 25th July this year. This morning on the AM show, I want to engage some scientists and the Ghana Health Service on how much more we know about the virus and how it is impacting the country. Seeing that there are many who don't comply with the protocols and are still going about life as usual, could it be that the virus has lost its bite, or we may have to brace for another more devastating wave? And who are the over 2,000 people currently listed as active COVID-19 cases? Where are they and how are they getting infected? We've also heard several reports of vaccines being donated to Ghana. What's our vaccine stock and where can people get vaccinated? Also on the show, the president has spoken about the Komenda sugar factory, as I had anticipated. Here's what he had to say about that.
Sika abandi ashimuno and then the say sika no yemaye. It turned out that the project was heavily overvalued. They then went forward to say that in the light of the overvaluation, they are going to look for interested investors to come and bids were brought in, an investor was chosen. All the various demands that he was making, the investor was making, at the end, he wasn't able to meet the conditions precedent. So, contract and right now, the ministry is working in such a way that would be a technical partner, at least to run the factory. Now, according to Chairman and the people in the ministry, arrangements are one year, by the first quarter of 2022, now factory is going to start running again.
Right, President Akufo also stated he never promised Cape Coast a harbour. If you're in the central region, we'd love to hear what you make of these two issues. Let's hear from you. There's more on the show. Just stay tuned in. I'm MyJoyOnline, and I'll be doing this with Enimo Enimado, the Adorable.
Good morning and welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. Our very first story this morning, residents of Cape Coast who have been waiting on the construction of a new harbour since the governing New Patriotic Party won the 2020 elections may have their hopes dashed. According to President Akufo-Addo, that infrastructure project was never a part of the list of commitments tabled before him for his second term. He emphatically stated the commitment was never to a harbour, it was to a landing site.
And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbour in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast.
Emphatic statements from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when the New Patriotic Party launched the 2020 manifesto. His statement was captured in page 160. Residents of Cape Coast have been eager for the harbour project, but according to President Akufo-Addo, the harbour was never part of the list of commitment tabled for his second term.
First of all, there's a clarification. The commitment was never to a harbour. It was to a landing site.
Okay.
It's very, very important. And you look inside the MPP, page 88 of the MPP manifesto for the 2020 election, it was clear. And there are several landing sites that we have in the central region that are ongoing. Let me read you some of them, of the landing sites that they have. And there's the phase, for the first phase of the landing sites in the central region involves Sinyabreku, which is what, 92, nearly 93% complete. Elmina, 13% complete. Moray, 78% complete. Winneba, 57% complete. And Gomoafete, 90% complete. And Mumford, 79, 80% complete. So that is the first phase of the landing sites that we're going to build. The second phase includes Cape Coast. And the idea would be that, once again, next year, that initiation will take place. So as far as the harbour, we have to be very clear in our mind.
The President read from page 88 of the manifesto, which clearly stated a landing site for Cape Coast. The Vice President also read from page 160, clearly stating that the harbour will be built for the people of Cape Coast. Will it be a harbour or a landing site? Well, it appears we have to take the number one gentleman's word for it.
We never committed ourselves. I never said I was going to build a harbour at Cape Coast. I said I was going to build a landing site.
Stop under-declaring revenues. That's a charge from the Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey to newly appointed Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives. Available records show that in the year 2019, internally generated revenue for the Greater Accra region was more than 155 million Ghana cedis. In the year 2020, the figure dropped to about 147. That's a difference of more than 8 million Ghana cedis. Questioning what is accounting for the dip in numbers, Mr. Henry Quartey urged MMDCEs to intensify revenue collection and declaration at the assembly level.
In spite of the fact that some revenue resources have been devolved into district assemblies, such as rates, lands and royalties, business operating permits, fees, fines, and rents, mobilization of internally generated funds, that is the IGF, plugged with inefficiencies which undermine the ability of the DAs to realize the full potential of local revenue. Let me pause there and say something small for this side. I am particularly interested in this area. I don't know if there are revenue collectors here. Are they here? But you are in charge of all that. It pains my heart that places in the CBD will say that they cannot raise IGF enough to sustain their projects. That is, if there is any at all. And so let it not be an annual budget hearing just for the paperwork. But I think that as leaders, as professionals, I charge you to go back to your respective assemblies and ensure that those leakages in revenue generations are dealt with. Available records indicate that the Greater Accra region mobilized a total IG of 123,977,894 cities, 76 pesos in 2017. In 2019, it accounted for 40.13% of the national IGF collection, but dropped to from 155 in 2019. It dropped to 147,396,929 cities in 2020, which stood at 37.45% of the national IGF collection. Clearly, ordinarily, one would have thought that Greater Accra, being a cosmopolitan region that sees the movement of people in and out daily and perhaps even the numbers increasing, our IGF should increase. But rather, as you can see, it's dropped from 40-something% to 37. Something is not right. And that's something, please, let's check it.
Now, the opposition NDC is demanding the immediate removal of all taxes imposed on petroleum products since the assumption of office of the NPP administration. The NDC argues that the 60% increase in revenue from the country's oil sector makes it untenable for government to still maintain the taxes. Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, addressing the media on the recent hikes in fuel prices, observed that in spite of about 45% increase in fuel prices this year alone, only 4% has been handed over to public sector workers, a situation he believes will bring hardship on the ordinary Ghanaian. Sami Jemfi believes the hikes in fuel prices is due to the bad leadership under the Akufo-Addo administration. There's more in the following report.
The NDC Communications Officer Sami Jemfi began the press conference by reminding Ghanaians on some comments made by then candidate Akufo-Addo and his running mate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Has no sympathy for Ghanaians. This is Dr. Bawumia. So let nobody accuse Sami Jemfi and the NDC for doing politics with fuel prices. This is the standard they subjected President Mahama to. Now, can we go to the next slide? Quickly. This was, I believe, a tweet he made sometime in May 2015. And this is what the economic whiskey of the NPP said about fuel prices. I feel really sad this morning for the ordinary Ghanaian, the hardworking people who have to endure the insensitive decision to increase fuel prices at this time. Next slide. Now, this was also a tweet by candidate Akufo-Addo, then in opposition, on the 6th of December 2016, a day to the December 7, 2016 elections. And this is what he had to say. I have seen how drivers, both private and commercial, struggle to pay for the high prices of fuel and insurance premiums. Hashtag vote Akufo-Addo.
Mr. Jemfi also attributed the high cost of living experienced under the current administration to bad leadership and mismanagement of the economy. He added there is no justification for the fuel hikes, insisting price of foodstuffs have shot up astronomically, a situation he believes is burdening the taxpayer.
A 50 kg bag of cement that was sold at 27 Ghana cedis in the year 2016 is being sold at 52 Ghana cedis today, and even in some cases above that price. A ton of iron rods, 16 mm iron rods, that was sold at about 2,800 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today selling at 5,300 Ghana cedis. While a packet of aluminium roofing sheets that was sold at about 520 Ghana cedis in 2016 is being sold at about 1,200 cedis today.
Former President John Mahama Well, welcome. This is the newspaper review segment here on the AM show. And if you're just waking up, well, good morning to you. If you're just joining the show like me, then you're welcome. My name is Enima Animado, and I do this with Israel Lai every morning.
Sorry, I had to truncate the news the way it did.
Yeah. So this morning, I'm going to start with the Ghanaian Times, should I? So front page of the Ghanaian Times, Komenda sugar factory work starts next year. That's according to the president.
So I was optimistic that the president was going to say something about Komenda, and he has.
Yeah, okay. Let's just wait and see now, because it's you don't want to get excited.
Yeah, it's yet another promise.
It's just another promise. Yeah.
We've heard, them say, we have the president say, okay, it's going to stop, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So yeah, here again, it's going to happen. So we'll see. Yeah,
so we'll see how that goes. We had that conversation yesterday.
I mean, what we're interested in, and as I keep saying, as I was saying yesterday, is for the factory to work. or if the factory is not going to work and we're going to cut our losses, we should, because whatever loan we took for this factory, we have to pay for it.
We have to service it. And also the fact that there are actually a lot of people who are planning their lives, you know, based on this factory starting to work, you know. So people are planning their lives based on getting employment, on supplying, and they've been planning their lives for the past 2-3 years, you know, hoping that work will start so that they can get into it. But let me just go through the story a little bit. It's on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. The President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has started the government's resolve for the effective and efficient operationalization of the Komenda sugar factory. Sigh. By the first quarter of 2022. He explained that as a leader of the nation, his administration would ensure that the nation's resources were well managed. He said a technical partner would be selected to ensure the opening of the factory that had generated some comments from former President John Mahama. Okay, so we know that he's on tour. He also said that the strategic partner appointed to work towards the operationalization of the Komenda sugar factory could not meet the condition set out by the Ministry of Trade and Industry in that area. He said that he wouldn't look on unconcerned because a lot of money has gone into construction the factory, and so that shouldn't go down the drain. And he's appreciative of the work, Okay, so basically, you know, they had terms and conditions or whatever. You know, they were hopeful that by October, you know, everything would be sorted out and we'll be moving into it. The people that they were hoping, I think it was Indians, they were hoping would come and run it, couldn't meet the terms that they wanted, the government wanted, and so they decided to let it go. I think the thing that is really annoying about this story is why it had to be reactive. You know what I mean? The story is reactive, and sometimes when something is reactive, it kind of loses a bit of credibility. Because then you're wondering, are you just saying this now because this person said it? Yeah. Would you have said it anyway? I think that what would have been good is when this happened, a statement should have been released and said, you know, we said we were going to do this. This is what has happened, and so we're working towards that. That's how you gain confidence with people, by being upfront and speaking up about the things, not waiting until, you know, we do it on the AM show or, you know, ex-President John Mahama pokes you. Then now, oh, suddenly timelines have moved to March 2022. Doesn't even, I mean, anyways, it is what it is. But it's a gentle reminder of the president speaking in 2018 on this issue.
We can grow here. All those things were not properly organized. I think our organization, our organization, and also the between strategic investor, and also it to be about Robert Bisomu. Nanche, over TBB Papa Freeman.
Well, contrary to what you said, President Akufo-Addo, it is kind of taking a long time, 3 years on. Anyway, so we will believe it when we see. Let's just be on the safe side and be doubting Thomases, shall we? Other stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. 15 QNet officials remanded in police custody in Koforidua. GHS alarmed at increase in hypertension, diabetes in Greater Accra region. So, again, let me actually just go through the story real quick. There's some research has come out about the fact that we have a lot of non-communicable diseases in the country. So the acting programs manager of the NCD's control program, Dr. Ifa Kome, said from 2019 till date, over 29,000 cases of hypertension had been recorded within the city, and diabetes, 4,200 in 2019. And as of September this year, 330 have been reported. So they're looking to hit about 4,000 cases of diabetes by the end of this year. Now, the thing about hypertension, diabetes, and these things are, you know, kind of, you get them and it's lifelong management, and it's quite expensive. And they're completely avoidable as well, you know, because they're lifestyle, as it were, diseases, you know. So I think it also speaks to our lifestyles, you know, not having enough time to cook properly, eat properly, exercise, all of that. So anyway, 2 robbers jailed 12 years. Police investigate death of 1-year-old baby. Western region records 91 road accident deaths. Okay, make communities accessible to people with disabilities. That's interesting. The disability conversation and how accessible our buildings and everything is to, to the disabled. Road safety agencies remove killer lamps from 1,418 vehicles. So there's currently a live presenter mention that's going on from the Road Safety Authority about the fact that they're going on this embarking to remove, these extra lamps and extra lights that people put on their cars. And the problem with these extra lights and stuff is that, if you want to beautify your car or whatever, that's up to you. But at night, when you're driving with these extra lights, it's blinding for oncoming vehicles, So the person driving in the opposite direction is so blinded by your light that they cannot see at all. And so it's increasing.
And they could crash into you.
They what?
They could crash into you.
Yes, exactly.
If you blind them. Yeah.
They'll cry because, it's happened to me a few times where you almost literally have to cover your face, or look away. And you're driving, you don't want to be looking away. So good work there, the National Road Safety Commission. Okay, Christians discuss integration of museum biblical gardens into the National Cathedral. Okay. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. Denial of MPs' visas by embassies should prompt them to develop the country. That's interesting. So Dr. Poku Edu said, the head of legal services at the NCA, has postulated that the alleged denial of visas to members of parliament by some embassies should push them towards making the country self-sufficient. Of course, this has to do with the LGBTQI plus bill, and the allegation that some embassies are not granting visas to high-ranking government officials because of the push for the anti-gay.
Well, essentially, they're supposedly targeting MPs.
Yes.
Who have stated their
anti-gay positions. Yeah. So they're like, okay, if you don't vote for this, then you can't travel to our country. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say, well, sod off, we'll stay in our own country. But we're not there yet, We still have to go and shop for our children every year because we're not really producing clothes at the quantity that we would like. Why are you looking at my face like that? People travel to the UK, for example, to go to Primark to shop for their children for the next 2 years. Because a T-shirt at Primark is what, $1.99, $2.99. We're not producing that in Ghana.
You shop for your kids, you go.
I don't. I'm not a hirer. I go to Medina Market, please. Don't come and stress me out this morning. With the masses, we go to Medina Market and devastation. So yeah, I don't agree with it. I think it's strong-arming. I think it's wrong. Because you should not, where we have our sovereignty, so you want to influence whatever, but you can't strong arm. But in a way, I want to say it is good for us too, because we cannot be in a position where we are being held to ransom, so that you can travel, because you won't do, you can live in the US, for example, and never go outside of your country.
True.
And experience everything that the world has to offer. Well, we won't do that here. We won't clean up our beaches. We won't get the Komenda sugar factory running. We won't produce our own clothes. We won't produce our own chewing gum. We won't eat our own rice. We won't.
So you're right on both fronts.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we're supposed to take care of our country. But yeah, we also should feel free to travel and go and shop at Primark in the UK.
Yeah, we should. But anyway, 499 aggrieved failed law exam candidates call on president and others to intervene. I'm not going to talk about this one because it's just something else that I don't understand about this country. Jehovah's Witnesses kick against homosexuality. HTH. This is very interesting. The Whole Teaching Hospital has given the assurance that, the headline, let me start with the headline, is HTH to investigate nurses' verbal abuse on patients. The Whole Teaching Hospital has given the assurance that the recent reports of cases of verbal abuse of patients by some nurses at the facility would be investigated to the fullest degree. Let me just take a minute and talk about verbal abuse from nurses.
Okay.
There are some really great nurses out there, really great nurses. No doubt about that. I don't know whether nurses understand that their job is a calling and that you're dealing with sick people, because some of them are just downright rude.
Okay, so clearly it's not all the nurses who see it as a calling.
Yeah, well, yeah, clearly. But even when you're dealing with sick people, there's no reason why you should be rude. And the verbal abuse, and there's a certain mindset around this country when it comes to our healthcare system. maybe not for people like you and I.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you know how maybe you and I will go to private hospitals or whatever, and obviously if you see Israel, you're not gonna, talk smack, right? You're going to behave properly. But the average Ghanaian goes into a place. So many times I've met people who've gone to the hospital and come back with a bag full of medicine. And I'm like, so what medicine do they give you and what is it for? I don't know. They've given me the medicine. I'm just going to take it. Are you mad?
Okay.
How do you not ask questions? But I realize that sometimes it's the way that the healthcare professionals respond to some of these questions. Because I've experienced it before where I've gone to hospital and I'm asking, you're giving me this, you're giving me this, you're giving me this. What are you giving me this for? Well, this is the medicine that we give for this. Like, did you go to school for 7-8 years to come and tell me such an answer like this is the medicine we give for this? So I asked him that who paid his school
from
fee.
the doctor.
Sorry?
The doctor is the one supposed to tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm blasting the doctors. Let me come back to the nurses, who are just sometimes, rude, especially when women are in labor. I can't, the number of times we've carried stories of, how women are treated when they're in labor by some, and I know if you don't push, the baby will die. But I mean, come on, let's be reasonable. Like, I wonder if they teach bedside manner, when they're doing these courses. Like in London, there's a whole semester, I think it's even 2 semesters where they teach you like just bedside manner, the psychology of your patient and how much your care and attention and kindness goes to making someone feel better. Because sometimes, some of the issues that you go to the hospital with are psychosomatic. And so there's something going on in your mind and is manifesting in your body. And just the kindness and all of that kind of just puts you back together. And you're sent off home, with go and rest and relax. But then you come and then it's like the nurses, their ancestors, their grandfathers, everybody just comes.
You should just go back into nursing.
So let's move on to page 28. GTA pleads for exemption
There's
from...
a patient out there waiting
ban.
to be blessed by
There's my fans waiting to be blessed by me in the morning. Hey, this morning I've talked, Papa, 6:50. It's okay, I won't do again. Wait. Hearts will clear Widad. Is it Widad or Widad? Widad hurdle. Okay, and finally on the back page, Garu women demand equal access to agri flagship programs and give women fertile lands to farm. And here ends my lamentations for this morning. Yes, I've outdone myself. It's 6:50. I'll say it before you say it.
Okay, it's okay. So let's get on with the Daily Graphic now. In the front page, we have unemployment biggest challenge, needs swift action. That's a TUC saying that. So the Trade Union Congress has observed that with an estimated 400,000 new entrants to the labor market annually, the unemployment and employment situation remains the greatest challenge in the country. It corroborated the position of analysts who have said that joblessness among young people in the country is a time bomb which is bound to explode in a matter of time if nothing immediate is done about it. All right. And that's very clear. Moving on, ECOWAS delegation visits Mali on elections. Neves wins Cape Verde election. And Gbagbo launches new political party. So former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo has launched a new political party he hopes will return him to the presidency. Okay, that's cool. EU exports over 1 billion COVID-19 vaccines. And we'll be talking about that. So we've heard the vaccines that have been donated to Ghana, and we want to find out what's the status of that, how far with the vaccine rollout, COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Colin Powell dies, so tributes are being paid to former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, who died of COVID-19 complications aged 84. Flood killed 26 in India, and Myanmar to release 5,000 prisoners held over coup. Let's go to page 16. Sword cutting for Cape Coast Airport next year. That's President Akufo-Addo saying that. So he said that sword will be cut for the Cape Coast Airport project by the end of March next year. But I mean, he also indicated in that same interview, so he was having an interview at Eagle FM, and he stated that as for the Komenda sugar factory, you can expect that to be running first quarter 2022. And then as for the harbour there, says, I never said I was going to build a harbour in Cape Coast. I said I was going to build a landing site, he said. And compulsory towing policy to come on stream. That story is on the front page. And the story itself, it's on page 16. It says the government will, by the amendment of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012, introduce a new compulsory towing service policy for all drivers and vehicle owners as part of efforts to stem the recent spate of road crashes in the country. The proposed amendment of Section 102, subsection 3 of the Road Traffic Regulations will compel owners of motor vehicles or trailers to subscribe to the services and terms of conditions of a towing service provider or an insurance company, which will be responsible for the immediate removal of the motor vehicle or trailer whenever it breaks down on the road. Okay, so a towing service, compulsory towing service is coming, well, albeit a little varied. Dufour in politics, Dufour best hope for NDC. That's the Action Movement saying that. And we move on to page 18. MPP opposes LGBTQI+. That's John Bwedu saying that. That's the MPP will not support the activities of the LGBTQI+ community. And another story, we're indebted to you, Mahama to Volta. And he says, quote, when we came into office, the Volta region did not have any public university. Any child that wanted to go to the university had to leave the Volta region to Cape Coast or to Kumasi or to Legon. And scrap taxes on fuel to alleviate economic hardship. That's the NDC saying that. And they're saying the cascading effect of these draconian tax measures have, among other things, led to an escalation in the prices of fuel products, transport fares, building materials, food products, and other commodities on the market. There's also this other interesting story here on page 19 of the Daily Graphic. Stop demanding money from politicians to curb corruption. Chairman Sambonso appeals to Ghanaians. So the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Osei Sambonso, has appealed to Ghanaians to stop demanding money and other resources from politicians to help curb corruption among the political class. He said, requesting money from politicians, especially during elections, compel them to use dubious means to recoup what they had spent to be elected as members of parliament or ministers of state. Okay, so now you know, those who have been demanding money from politicians are the reason why we have corruption.
I see. That's not even fair. I think that people ask for money from politicians mainly because they feel like they want to get some of what the politicians are getting anyway. I mean, but obviously if your MP or your mayor is, sitting on the tube with you in the morning or riding his bicycle to work, you're not going to ask him for money, are you? No. But, the level at which we see, it's funny. It's just, like focus on fixing your things and stop coming.
Cocoa farmers' pension starts this month. Okay, farmers registered on CocoaBot's cocoa management system are allowed to join anytime they wish, but must contribute for a minimum of 5 years to qualify them to benefit from the scheme. Let's go to the center spread projects and the Ghana-Germany agreement begins.
Oh, okay. So this is from when the president went to Germany?
Not sure. So the implementation of €100 million bilateral cooperation agreement between Ghana and Germany has commenced. Okay, yes, I would want to believe that. And the public advice to ensure safety of foods. The public has a greater responsibility to mandate that foods they consume are safe as the Food and Drugs Authority continues to monitor standards.
That's funny.
Release of information mandatory.
How are they monitoring the standards? I want to know.
Well, they do market surveillance every now and then.
Yeah, but what about those who sell food by the roadside? The wache joints, the yoke gari, the woman who carries wache on her head and walks around, yoke gari,
I'm not sure they have what it takes to check all of that.
Okay, all right then.
So
I guess the onus
is you have to
you
check yourself.
Okay. How do you check?
Well, if you have it and you run or you
that's post facto checking.
You avoid.
I see. Okay.
All right, moving on. Man stabs wife to death at Nyantreniase.
I wonder what it's over.
So, a 40-year-old man alleged to have killed his pregnant wife on suspicion of infidelity is on the run. So
crimes of passion.
All right.
Yesterday
these things.
There were.
I'm saying we keep
hearing.
Yeah, we keep
yesterday there was a conversation that was going on social media about how relationships are a big factor in mental health problems.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Because you have issues and you're struggling, and you're living with a person.
Yeah,
Or,
or
well,
not.
even if you're not living with a person, it's because it's so dear to your heart.
Yeah.
It matters a lot to you.
And so close, yeah. Almost a major cause of, maybe we should have a conversation on relationships and maintaining your mental health.
Yep.
I wish they taught things like that in school to our children. I mean, schools can't do everything. Parents have to do something. But I wish it was something that we were really... Have you taught your boys about, loving a woman and not being toxic and not, having boundaries and we're focused so much on getting them to university.
We haven't got into that, but I feel that it's about how they see me relate with my wife.
Yeah.
So, they learn a lot more by observing than you telling them. So they observe, and then when you tell them, it makes a lot more sense.
A lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Please, we'll come and learn something.
Anytime. No, you though. I mean, you're a grandma yourself, so.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Securities and Exchange Commission engages law enforcement agencies. The Securities and Exchange Commission has interacted with some selected personnel of the Criminal Investigations Department and the Economic and Organized Crime Office in Accra as part of strategies to collaborate and fight operators of Ponzi schemes, such as the World Remit one that the Bank of Ghana has been talking about in recent times. So avoid them. We've talked about this a number of times. If you don't avoid them and they chop your money, yeah. If you come to join us that you want us to do a story about it, we'll ignore you because you have ignored the Bank of Ghana advice.
Okay.
All right. Locked up funds choke rural banks. That's in business. 500 million cedis still unpaid. Wow. BOG urged to intervene. So an amount of 457.86 million, which constitutes 71% of the validated investment, is still locked up with investment companies. This banking crisis, the impact has been so huge, and looks like we haven't gotten over that yet. Another bullion van robbed in Takwa. Wow, there were no fatalities as the armed men robbed at ease. Wow. So amid sporadic shooting, 2 armed robbers yesterday morning robbed a bullion van of more than 107,000 cedis in front of a market in the center of Takwa in the western region. The robbers were said to have trailed the bullion van, which arrived at the Ransbet Super Shopping Market at about 9 a.m. to collect weekend sales to the bank. One of the robbers was said to have disguised himself as a shopper with a gun on him. Wow. Thought some measures have been put in place to curb these things. All right. In sports, Dogbe fights Diaz in US on November 20. Queens arrive in Lagos for Falcons clash tomorrow. And President Akufo-Addo to start Queen's baton relay. On the back page, seaweed floods Western coastline. Communities call for help. Hypertension, diabetes cases increase in Accra Metro, which is a story.
I don't think we have any more time to do any more stories. Do we have time to do MyJoyOnline? Okay, let's go to MyJoyOnline.com and quickly go through the stories there. Okay, so top story on MyJoyOnline.com. A flimsy excuse should not be given for denial of visa to MPs. Sam George calls out the Netherlands ambassador. Interesting.
There's been some back and forth between the two of them, actually.
Yeah, there hasn't there? Okay, I never promised to build a harbour in Cape Coast, as according to Akufo-Addo. NDC caucus begin audit of MPs, refused visa to establish whether it is linked to anti-GLBTQ+. Funny face arrested after threatening to kill his baby mama and commit suicide.
You know, this story, a friend of mine who's a psychiatric nurse called me from the US yesterday, and she was so passionate about Funny Face's case. She feels that Funny Face, he said a lot of things and insulted a lot of people, including Adebayo and Bolore and people who have supported him in the past. And she feels that he's having issues, as in it's a psychiatric issue or a mental health issue. And she feels that if the people around him, those people he's insulted, including Father Dixon, would not ignore him and rather come to his aid, they could make him better.
They could. And I'm a bit worried about this arrest, because arrest to where? You know, to police stations? Is it for rehabilitation? Will there be psychological assessments?
They've indicated there's going to be psychiatric assessments.
Okay, that's
then they will decide what to do. With
okay.
him. But yeah, maybe I'll see if my friend will be willing to speak. But she spoke so passionately about it. Yeah.
Maybe we should try and talk to him at some point as well. JUSAC to embark on nationwide strike on October 28. Komenda Sugar Factory to be operationalized by March 2022. Did the MPP promise to build a harbour in Cape Coast or not? Well, Akufo-Addo says not so. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell dies of COVID complications. All right, that's MyJoyOnline.com. We're going to go to sports in a little bit after the break, but before we go on that break, we have this for you to listen to.
And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbour in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast.
Emphatic statements from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when a new patriotic party launched a 2020 manifesto. His statement was captured in page 160. Residents of Cape Coast have been eager for the harbour project.
All right, so the question that comes up is, the president said, I never promised you a harbour.
They didn't have a conversation. You know, that's what happens in a relationship.
No. So he says, I never promised you a harbour.
I promised you a London site.
Then the vice president says, we're going to build a harbour.
No, but it's the vice president who said it first. And then the president said, I didn't promise. They didn't communicate. I mean, so
they didn't communicate. So
there was a lack of communication.
It's in the manifesto. I mean, we can pull up the page in the manifesto.
Well, I'm just saying. Are you saying the president is lying? Israel, oh my God. So are you saying the president is lying?
Is saying, I never promised you.
He didn't, yeah. But of course, the vice president speaks for him. There's so many, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. Anyway, the most important thing is that Cape Coast is not getting an airport. You're getting a London site.
No, you're not getting
a harbour.
You're getting a
London. It's a London site and airport.
No.
Exactly, because he didn't say an airport. He said a London site.
No, so there's an airport too. There's an airport in the works. So that's for the airport.
He said he didn't say airport. He said London site.
No, airport. That's for the airport. They're getting it. It's a harbour that he said he didn't promise.
2072.
Work will start soon.
Okay, work will start soon. We remain hopeful in this country. Something you don't have to remain hopeful about, because it's definitely going to happen, is the sports right after this.
In his first stint between August 2008 and August 2010, he built arguably the best Black Stars team ever, which saw Ghana ranked 14th in the world. What should Ghanaians expect in his coming? Well, Milovan Rajvat wants to build a team that can compete against any opposition in the world. In the CAF Champions League, House of Oak is getting ready for a return leg against WAC. But a board member is worried about refereeing, having described matchday referee in the first leg as a disgrace to African football. For Monday Night Football, Arsenal needed a late Lacazette strike to walk away with a point when they came up against Crystal Palace. Hello, welcome to AM Sports. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Let's start with Black Star stories, where head coach Milovan Rajvat is open to having more players break into the national team, despite a good start in the World Cup qualifiers in his second spell. The Serbian masterminded Ghana's back-to-back wins against Zimbabwe, and he believes it has set the tone for him to build a very competitive team. Board member of House of Oak, Dr. Nyao Chamaklo, has described the performance of the CAF Champions League matchday referee Rodriguez de Carvalho as a disgrace to African football. Speaking to Joy Sports after the Phobians' 1-0 win over WAC of Morocco, Nyao said the GFA should consider filing a protest on behalf of the club over the abysmal performance of the referee.
Well, it was quite an interesting game. Initially, we were expecting the WAC boys to play a match we have never seen before. But I think our boys were able to study them carefully. And the match itself was a good match. But my worry is the refereeing. I think we have to do something about this refereeing, because there are rules and regulations in refereeing. But this particular referee, I think either CAF or FIFA. In fact, I would even suggest that Ghana Football Association writes a letter of protest about his performance. It was so awful, so obvious. I mean, and I think this is a disgrace to African football. What happened today is a big disgrace.
Doc, do you have any incidents of some friction with the administrative team and the referees that could have perhaps pushed them to have handled this game so badly in the way they did?
No, we've not had anything. You are talking about the Moroccans?
Yes, the Moroccans here.
No. We received them.
I mean the Angolan referees.
Meanwhile, another board member, Frank Nelson, is optimistic the Phobians will qualify ahead of WAC.
At the CV you just mentioned now, it gives me a lot of happiness because it means my boys confronted them in a very good standard. Judging from their championship, I mean the 2018, 2017 and all the things they have done. I think they are a good side. We cannot take them for granted. But our boys played very well. Now the reason is that we're going away, Judge. The away game, they have a lot of experience. You can see they are relaxed. But at the end of the day, I don't think they can determine the game because we're going to play our game. Like I say, we need to just find a goal in Morocco just to get one goal. If we get one goal, they will be in a panic situation because they know that that will be disaster for them. So they want to prove the world that they were good. What they did in 2017 and 2018 is not by accident. So they want to prove it to a team that is coming from West Africa once more. So we will not take them for granted. We'll take it very serious. We'll look at it and say, look, these guys have what it takes, but they will not take us for granted. No matter how naive or how premature the boys will look at, but I think they are one-on-one 11 players who can do anything. We have players who has played on the highest level, like people like Banya and every other thing. Nate can equally do a lot of difference. Our goalkeeper is very good, and I believe we can stand the Moroccans. It's nothing to panic. Across the vote, for me, definitely we'll find our way through, and I think we can qualify.
Let's talk about national team football and now focus on the Black Queens of Ghana, where head coach Mercy Tego has named a 22 squad list that will come up against Nigeria in the Alcon qualifiers. The Black Queens will play the Super Falcons tomorrow. The team arrived in Nigeria yesterday for the game, and they will hold their first training session this evening, which is mandatory, at the venue where the match will be happening. The list of the squad put together by Mercy Tego includes 4 foreign-based players, with Israel-based defender Blessing Shine Agbomazi making a return to the squad. However, there is no place for Amapele, who is the skipper of the side. Portia Boachi will lead the team in this fixture. Let's take a look at the goalkeepers, and we have Fafale Dumese, and she's with Police Ladies, Victoria Nchiaje, Kumasi Sports Academy, and Mary Nikwe of Immigration Ladies. The defenders, you have Gladys Amphobia of Ladies Strikers, Ellen Coleman, Ladies Strikers, Nina Noshi of Berry Ladies, Janet Ejui Hazakas Ladies, Blessing Agomazi of Hapwell Sheva, and there's Justice Chinibua of Ampim Dakwa Ladies. There's also Felicity Asuako of Police Ladies. In the midfielders, you have Naomi Enima of Kumasi Sports Academy, Monica Adai of Berry Ladies, Grace Enima of Police Ladies, Grace Echiampon of Ampim Dakwan Ladies, Grace Adams of Berry Ladies, Grace Asantua of Real Betis Feminas, and there's Portia Boachi, the standing skipper of Dijadin IF. That is a former team. That is a male side of one of Ghana's star men over there, Daniel Amate. Then the attackers, we have Sophia Ejakwa of Soccer Intellectuals, Vivian Ajay Konedu of Thunder Queens, Elizabeth Owusu of Ampim Dakwan Ladies, Sonia Opoku of Ampim Dakwan Ladies, and Prinsla Edubia of Racing Feminines. This is the squad put together by Mercy Tego. Now let's talk about the club licensing committee. They were at the Bayara Sports Stadium on Monday for a second inspection of the facility ahead of the commencement of the new football season. Love FM's Steven Zando was there and came through with this report.
Ghana Premier League clubs Asante Kotoko and Kimfesa, as well as lower tier sides Asoko Deportivo and Pacific Heroes, submitted the stadium to the GFA as their venues in fulfillment of the infrastructure criteria for the license application processes. However, the famous Kumasi Babarawa Sports Stadium was classified among the 15 match centers to have been conditionally rejected by the Club Licensing Committee after the first inspection last month. According to the Club Licensing Committee, the stadium was conditionally rejected due to some defects at the safe zone and the dressing room, which required some fine-tuning before the facility status can be approved. The licensing team during the re-inspection on Monday was led by Club Licensing Manager Julius Ben Emuna. Also, Madam Lucy Josephine Ando, who is the Assistant Operations Director of Kotoko, represented the Porcupine Warriors, while Ni Odoi Aye, Marketing Manager of Kimfesa, represented the Inshallah Boys. The team first went to inspect the safe zone before they visited the dressing room. The pitch itself was also inspected, where Mr. Frank Boahin of Greengrass Technology took the team through the condition and the state of the pitch. In the end, the inspection team was satisfied with the level of improvement at the facility since the last inspection. Julius Ben Emuna and his team, after inspecting the Kumasi Sports Stadium, departed to Techiman for another inspection work at the Ohene Amia Park. From the Babarawa Sports Stadium in Kumasi, Stephen Izando reporting.
That's all for sports on the AM show with me, Muftar Unabila Abdullah. We appreciate the time you've made out to join us this morning. You can head on to MyJoyOnline.com and read some more sports stories. Thanks very much for your company.
In a long time, and the president himself hasn't addressed us as fellow Ghanaians in a while. But yeah, it's about time we brought up the conversation and had a pragmatic conversation about COVID.
I think it's also an assessment of where we are, and how we're doing with the management.
Yeah.
The buzz has kind of died down in terms of, all of that. We're again relaxing, you're going out and kind of seeing people not really wearing masks, kind of just chilling.
Yeah.
Some of the restaurants, the pharmacies, the shops are relaxing their rules a little bit, maybe not intentionally, but you can almost kind of walk in and, do a quick, in and out and get away with not wearing a mask. So yes. Yeah, we're definitely relaxing a little.
So let's have a conversation. If really, we can say COVID is no longer a threat and we can all take off our mask and feel free.
But you see, the thing about Colin Powell's death is that he was vaccinated.
Yeah.
And then he gets COVID and then complications and then we lose him. It's a stark reminder of how it takes 1 second for everything to go back, to what it was, to losing people we love.
Even though, let's make it clear that the fact that you've been vaccinated doesn't mean that you will not get COVID, or if you get COVID, you won't die. It's without the vaccine, your case becomes a lot worse.
Yeah.
So it's a preventive measure. It works, but then it's not foolproof. And vaccines themselves, really, is not the fact. I mean, the fact that you get the vaccine or you've been fully vaccinated does not mean that when you won't get COVID. And again, let me just repeat, the fact that you get COVID and you've been vaccinated doesn't mean that you wouldn't be severely ill. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we get our friends, listeners, watchers involved in the conversations? This morning we talked about Komenda.
Yes.
We also talked about the fact that, President says, well, actually, it's like a man, you go and con a woman and then later on, after in a relationship, she's talking about marriage and but I never said I was going to marry you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my brother who said it.
No, it was my brother who said, I might marry you, but after much assessments, I've decided not to. So why don't you tell us what you think about what's happening in Cape Coast and also with the Komenda, sugar factory as well. We'd love to know.
It would be good to connect with Richard Kojo-Nyakun, since he's a correspondent, to let us know what the people feel about all that has gone on and what their reactions to all that is happening. So, yeah.
Okay, so phone lines. Let's open the phone lines and have the conversation. The phone line should be up on the screen in a second. Call us and tell us what you think about the whole, Komenda thingy starting next year, March 2022. And obviously, the fact that the president said that Cape Coast is getting a landing site and not a harbour. Call us. It's 0302 211 6912. 0302 211 6912. Okay, awesome.
So here's the thing about the harbour. The vice president said that we're going to get you a harbour. The president says, "I never."
You said we're going to get you a harbour. It's like we're going to walk into. I don't know.
Well, Matt,
Costco and buy a harbour and bring it.
The president said, "No, I never promised you that." But what the manifesto say? That's what we have on your screen right now. So you go to page 88, and it's online actually. So you can go online right now and go and check it out. So yes, you have on point 206. Okay, so 206, construct new harbours at Jamestown, Accra, and in Keta. Okay, so that's that bit. And then it goes to 207, continue building landing sites at Cape Coast. Continue building landing sites at Cape Coast, Mumford, Teshi, Axine. All right, so here's
yeah, but I think also on page 162 or 161, he actually talked about the airport. So if we can...
No, the harbour.
Sorry, the harbour, yeah.
The harbour is mentioned there. So we'll go there and get you. But we have our first caller. We have Rashid calling from Techiman. Hello, Rashid. You're not in Cape Coast or the Central Region, but I'm sure this is of interest to you. What do you have to say about it?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm in Techiman, but this interest is a matter of... It's an important matter to every Ghanaian. Politicians can't be promising today and be saying different things tomorrow.
Yeah.
Israel, we heard him very clearly. That's the vice president. It was not only documented, it was voiced out, right?
Yeah.
He said it. Everybody heard it. But I think it's an agenda. For me, I think they are trying to make the vice president unpopular.
Oh,
yes,
really?
That's what I think.
Why?
Because I think the president is trying to make a fool out of the president. He was the one who said it, voices out. People have been listening to it. So imagine the vice president coming back to contest for the flag bearership. Yes, imagine that situation. And he going to Cape Coast to campaign. It's a bit more easier.
I get you, but you see, it's not just what the president said, it's or what the vice president said. It's also about what is contained in the manifesto of the party.
And that is even making the things worse. The vice president voiced it out, and it is contained in the manifesto. So the vice president essentially mentioned some parts of the manifesto at the lunch. And the president is trying to debunk that they never thought of something like that. Meanwhile, the vice president read it out in front of thousands of Ghanaians. Yes, it's serious.
All right, thank you very much
thank you.
for calling. So yes, we have Bawa calling from Wa. Hello, Bawa.
Yes, please, Mr. Lai. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to find out whether, the president, they're not working a team. How could the president give, a full detail about, building, an airport in Wa, while the vice president is also giving different, information about the airport? If we can link to, what the finance minister said, he mentioned that they are going to create 100 million jobs. But later he went to, a graduation ceremony to tell that, the graduates that they should create just for themselves. It's not contradictory. You are saying that you're going to create 1 million jobs, but rather you are not telling us that there are no jobs. So what are the kind of jobs that you are trying to create? You are trying to create the 1 million jobs. So you see, all whatever they are doing, they are, a bit of contradictory among themselves. So we, the youth, will have to rise up, to always, let the leaders account for us all the time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. We have Harris calling from Pando. Hello, Harris.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Me, what I can see now is on the manifesto, it's a written document. But the vice president's tone is a slip of tongue.
Oh, how do you mean it's a slip of tongue?
Yes, that is what I can see.
How do you explain that? He's launching the manifesto for the party. He's speaking for the party. You couldn't probably making a mistake when you say that, especially when it's documented. So we have it on our screens right now. So it listed the things that need to be, the promises that's been made. A new harbour in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. So these are two things that were promised.
But on the manifesto 207, it said they will build landing sites at Cape Coast.
Yes, but also in the manifesto, and this is, I think, page 161, if you look there, part 4, it says there, commence construction of the Eastern Rail Line, Eduardin to Boise, Ghana, Burkina, a new line between Sekondi and Shama, a new harbour in Cape Coast, and a new airport in Cape Coast. So unless the president is saying that the whole committee that put together the, the manifesto and all of that, did all of this without his knowledge, and he okayed it as the flag bearer and said, okay, guys, go ahead, put this out, then there's no way that he can stand anywhere and say that I did not say that I was going to build a new airport in Cape Coast. Who said it? The national chairman of the MPP? Seriously. Seriously. I think we need to call the president out, because this is honestly just, I don't want to say it's a bold-faced lie, but
we can pardon the vice president anyway.
It's more than pardoning the vice president. It's actually apologizing to the vice president, because, like one of our callers said, and I'm not going to get into MPP politics and whatever it is, but it is painting the vice president very bad. Very, very bad, because then he appears much more incompetent. And like our first caller says, if he has political ambitions, then you've painted him as somebody who went to lie in Cape Coast, which he didn't, because he was reading from the manifesto, which I would like to believe was approved by everybody who matters.
All right, thank you very much. We have Christian also calling from Spintex. Hello, Christian.
Yeah, hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, I'm calling from Spintex.
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask a very simple question.
Sure.
So I think that the government, or let's say the president and the vice president, they don't have simple communication on what. Because here, like the case, you come to give us a promise. And later on, the president. Hello?
Yes, we're listening to you.
Okay. So the vice president comes to tell us to build an airport. And right now the president is also telling us that he has never promised us an airport. So now the question is there misinformation or what? What are they trying to tell us? It's very simple. That's my question.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next conversation. Before we do that, though, I really would like an apology to the vice president, or some sort of statements made about the fact that, his credibility has been called into question. And of course, the economy does that for him every day. But it doesn't mean that we should add some.
But hold on. It could also be that the president may have... He said it, and then he later pointed it out to him that way. Okay, it's in a manifesto.
Okay, so then he should come out and say.
So he comes back and say, okay, sorry. So we're going to give you the.
Yeah, he should come out, because he doesn't have anything to lose. He's done being president after this term, So what is my problem, Cry? Like today, I'm being like you. I'm speaking for. I stand with Baumia today, just today.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with our next conversation. Don't go anywhere. It has to do with COVID. Stay tuned. All All right, so to all the non-mask wearing, no hand washing, non-sanitizers, all those shaking hands, hugging anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a culprit. I wish to announce to you that yes, I'm a culprit. I wish to announce to you that Ghana has 2,434 active cases of COVID-19, which has killed 1,167 people so far officially in Ghana. Yes, COVID-19 is still real, even though for many the virus is gone or is no longer a threat. And yes, I know we hardly talk about COVID-19 as we used to. And the last time the president addressed us as fellow Ghanaians was 25th July this year.
Wow.
Yes.
I feel like the president has broken up with us. We need some love. Please do.
Okay, so this morning we're doing our own fellow Ghanaians on the AM show. I want to engage some scientists and the Ghana Health Service on how much more we know about the virus and how it is impacting Ghana, seeing that there are many people who don't comply with the protocols and are still going about life as usual. Could it be that the virus has lost its bite, or we may have to brace for another more devastating wave? And who are the over 2,000 people currently listed as active COVID-19 cases? Where are they and how are they getting infected? We also had several reports of vaccines being donated to Ghana. What's our vaccine stock? And where can people get vaccinated? Joining us right now, Dr. Kwame Sapong Isiedu is a pharmacist and CDD fellow. We also have Dr. Franklin Isiedu Bekwe, Director of Public Health, Ghana Health Service, and Dr. Michael Usu, virologist at KCCR. I want to start with you, Kwame Sapong Isiedu. Doctor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Samson.
Israel.
And good morning to my elder brother and Michael as well.
Okay, so I'm sure you're thinking that you're on news file. You're not on.
I don't know why Kwame thinks Kwame, you're not on news file. Oh. This is the AM show.
I know I'm on the AM show.
Okay, but
so who is Samson?
You said something, and so.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. All right,
fine.
But yeah, good to have you on the show, and I know you're one of those who follows our COVID-19 cases quite diligently. Where do you think we are as a country? We have 2,400 active cases, and yet we're not seeing people that worried, and we're not talking about COVID that much. What do you think is going on?
Thanks, Israel. What I think is going on, it only takes one to look at a press release from the WHO African office last week, which said that currently in Africa, their research suggests that only 14.2% of all the cases have ever been identified. And over 82% of our cases are not identified. And they put it into context and say that of the 8 million cases that are reported in Africa as a continent, our caseload looks cumulatively around 59 million. So I say that to draw people's attention to the fact that Ghana is not the exception, but the norm as far as the African continent is concerned. So what does that mean? That gives a false sense of complacency, because people think at the end of the day, only, let's say, if you look at Ghana, 100,000+ people have gotten infected. And if we're using the African average of 14%, you can look at you can project the actual cumulative infection rate for Ghana. This is also backed by seroprevalence studies that have been done in Ghana itself by the likes of WAGBIV, and I know KCCR and others, and I think the Ghana Health Service is doing their own as well, which tells us that a lot more people are carrying antibodies to COVID than actually have been vaccinated. And so if you add our vaccination pool plus people who have cumulatively got infected, the number of people who have antibodies are way, way, way higher, which tells you that the infections have been much, much more significant than we have reported. Again, fueling the complacency. Where does that leave us? I mean, I go back to the WHO report from last week, and I say it leaves us with a concern around long COVID, because if the chronic disease load from long COVID becomes as it's being predicted globally, then we are going to have a disease burden overlay. And for me, this is my biggest concern. So this is where I'll leave it for now.
Okay, so Kwame Safin is here. I hear you out, but then I also would want to look at it another way. You talk about the fact that we have the number of people with antibodies that's significant. And so it means that we probably, let's say what, 80% of the people in the country may have encountered COVID at some point in time. If we've had all these people, should we then begin to think that, okay, we probably may have herd immunity of some sort without necessarily going through or having done the necessary studies? And could it also be that if we have such a position, we probably can say we're fine? And could it also be that the WHO and the rest, they have what they have to say, and they're saying what they are saying, but is it the case that because we haven't really done, or we don't do that many studies on COVID in Africa, we really don't understand the way COVID is impacting on the continent?
You see, there's a lot of conjecture in the questions you ask. And you may be right. But it's good that we have Michael on the program. He'll tell you that from a virological standpoint, the antibodies generated by wild exposure to COVID do not last as long as what comes from the vaccination, because they are generated from different parts of the virus. That's important. The vaccines are generally deriving the antibody from the head of the virus, what we call the head of the virus, and this is more coming from the tail. So that in itself gives a different extent of antibody immunity conferment. So that is one thing. The second thing you have to look at is even from vaccination, it is becoming increasingly apparent that the immunity is not as long-lasting, especially if you are immunocompromised. I mean, I was watching the program from earlier, and you were talking about Colin Powell, and I find it strange that people do not even realize that what has happened to Colin Powell is actually a consequence of the limitations of vaccines, in the sense that he was known to be immunocompromised. And if you are immunocompromised, one of the things that can happen is that your antibody titers are low. The other thing for me is the fact that, is it only happening with the COVID vaccine? The answer is no, it's not happening with the COVID vaccine. We all know that when people linked measles vaccination with autism, and people decided not to get their kids vaccinated, there were measles outbreaks in the UK, in the US, in Germany, and all these countries where measles vaccinations didn't go on, even amongst children who had been vaccinated. So there's nothing strange for me about what's happening here. So if you then juxtapose that and you bring it into the Ghanaian or African context, then you cannot say that because we are not getting as many of our people getting sick, even though our caseloads might be higher, we are in a safe place, because we do not know how long and the size of our, our immunity bridge or scope around the people who've been vaccinated. And like I said, with every vaccine, your immunity is as strong as the immunity conferred by your community. You have one immunity. Let's say if the vaccine is 70%, it means you are 30% likely to get an infection. Well, when it comes to mortality, it's about 96, 97%. So you are 3% more likely if you get infected to die. However, your 30% becomes insignificant if more people are vaccinated and taking it close to herd immunity. That is what Africa doesn't have. And that is why we should be concerned. And that's why I find the false complacency amongst Ghanaians a bit concerning.
All right, so you've said so much. I want to go back to the issue of research. So if you look at the UK and elsewhere, they're constantly engaging in research. They would allow people to go into a stadium, pack the stadium, and study and follow the people. We don't do that. We're not doing a lot of that in Africa. I'm not disappointed that we're not focusing, that much research here in Africa? Because if we are, there's a lot that we will get to learn from about the virus.
Well, yes, the research has been a concern, but you have to realize that the research is underpinned by funds. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the funding envelope we have committed to science and medicine as a country and as a continent historically? It's virtually negligible. I mean, we all heard the finance minister saying that the coffers are full. 60% is going into recurrent expenditure and paying for salaries and emoluments. So how much are you committing to research? And therefore, if you are not researching, and that's why I said a lot of the questions you asked earlier were down the bridge of conjecture, because you are just speculating. Whereas, like you rightly said yesterday, I saw data from the UK, 49,000 plus new cases with 145 deaths. But then I also know the vaccination threshold is around 79% currently. 12 to 15-year-olds are being vaccinated, and the disease burden is now predominantly within the 12 to 15-year-old bracket, and majority of the people who are dying are either in care homes or immunocompromised. So I have a broader understanding of what's going on in the UK. I can also read the research from the UK to say, now, yes, I understand why we don't have to test from the 25th when you are traveling back into the UK, because all the data is showing that the PCRs and the antigen tests from lateral flows are giving comparative results when it comes to reliability and positives and negative tests. And so the risk of false negatives are very, very low. I cannot speak to such data on a large scale from any country in Africa, let alone Ghana. And therefore, yes, I would be concerned. But the question I'd ask myself is, do we have the funds? I mean, if you come into my workplace, for example, anyone can walk in now and pick up lateral flow tests and go and test themselves. It is encouraged. So the data is coming in. So you are getting roughly about 1 million, 2 million tests being done a day in the UK. And so you would get 40,000, but how much is that? You realize that the positivity rate is very, very small. So these are things that I can look at and I can think, can any African country afford it? And the answer is no, Samson, and that's the unfortunate reality.
All right, please hold on for me. We have Professor Kwame Sego. Kwame Sego. He's a virologist, and we probably can put some of the questions to him. Good morning to you, Prof. And the conversation we're having at this point has to do with the data and how much really do we know about COVID-19 and the way it's impacting Africa? As we've heard Kwame Sapong-Sedu indicate, in the UK, there's so much data, and based on the data, you can take some decisions. But without that kind of research being done in Africa, how are we managing the situation, or are we just flying blind?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think that, I'm sorry I didn't join in from the beginning, so I don't know how the discussion has gone. But I think that there's research going on. I'm sure that there's some research going on. We have just finished a study on people who have malaria-like symptoms and who have COVID. We're just in the process of analyzing the data, where we looked at people who just came to the polyclinic with just malaria-like symptoms. And we tested for COVID, tested for malaria, tested for other viruses. And at least we got about 60% of people who had COVID-19. Now, interpreting the data can be a bit dicey, but the fact is the virus was detected in them and the condition they found themselves. There could be other co-infections or other issues, yes. But it tells us that there's some level of presentation. I hear some people call it COVID malaria. There's some kind of presentation presenting. So I think that we are in a process of gathering data. I am aware of colleagues who are doing other things. And I am sure that within the next couple of weeks, weeks to months, we can have some data. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think people are doing different things. I think the problem always with us is the coordination. Now, as I sit here in the medical school, I have no idea what somebody is doing in KNUST. So that I guess the idea is the coordinating mechanism so that we can know what people are doing and then how to use the data we are getting. A couple of months back, I know there's a committee, COVID committee chaired by an eminent professor, and they were collecting projects that different institutions were doing on COVID. So I think there's some data available as to how far the work has gone and how far the results have been achieved. Or what the knowledge of results that they have, I cannot tell. But there is some work going on, and I'm sure that there may be some data present.
Prof,
if we contact.
Yeah, Prof. Sego, are you aware of any data or research that speaks to why COVID-19 is not impacting Ghana as it's impacting other places?
Well, I cannot tell for now, but then I have a colleague we've discussed some of these things. I always say that the people in, let me not mention a place, I'm not looking down at any place. Some people around me, none of them seem to be falling sick. But there are many things that have come up. I cannot say for sure what people are doing, but I wouldn't doubt that some groups are looking at something like, just as we are looking at COVID and malaria, I'm sure some people may be doing this. But like I said, the proper place to be is to check up for the committee, the committee set up. I've forgotten the name, but the research committee that the government set up to coordinate all COVID research. I am sure we may find some data somewhere, or we have an idea of what people are working on.
All right. Let me bring in Dr. Kwame Franklin Esiedu-Bekwe, who is with the Ghana Health Service, the Director of Public Health. Good morning to you, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekwe.
Good morning.
All right. So I want to start with you, and the question is, where are we as far as our COVID-19 fight is concerned?
Yeah, so if you look at the data that we have, you see that there's a decline in the cases. I mean, we've gotten a decline over the past, I'll say, 3 to 4 weeks. And to us, this is a very good time for us. But you see, we've been here before. And I think that in trying to analyze the trajectory of like an outbreak or a pandemic, you look at two things. You look at the host, that's the human being, and look at the agent. So normally the viruses will tend to get a bit of saturation. Their infectivity will go down with time. So what happens is that the agent, the host, that's the human being, also has to build some kind of immunity. And if you look at our peaks in the country, normally it goes down, and then there's a new variant, which is more infectious, and then we get a spike. So that's why, for us, the best time for us now is to get vaccinated. Otherwise, we are going down, and then we get a new variant, and we start going up. I remember these discussions being spoken by Prof. Segu. I mean, we were speaking it about 6 months ago, that what is making the Ghanaian kind of immune to SARS-CoV-2, and then we have Delta, and it goes up. So what is happening is, now we have over 3 million doses of vaccines that are available for Ghanaians to be used. Surprisingly, people are struggling to take it. And then we will struggle with it, and then they will have a new variant, and we'll go back. So I think that for us as a service, our main drive is to make sure that Ghanaians take the vaccines. And I think that for us, that's our main focus. Now that we have the vaccines now, the narrative must be different about Ghanaians going for the vaccines.
Okay, so we're also very much interested in the vaccine conversation. How can people get vaccinated? We have 3 million vaccines available. What's the rollout plan? Is it still available for people? Do they just walk into any center, and where are these centers?
Yeah, so let me say that if you look at our progress over the years, initially we were only able to store vaccines between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. So the government and other partners managed to get us the storage capacity, so that we can now pick the ultra-negative vaccines. So now we can store Moderna, we can store Pfizer, and we have over 2.6 million doses of Moderna and Pfizer. But what we want to put across is that if you look at the vaccines that we have, they are all effective. So whether it's AZ, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's Moderna, they are all effective. So you don't need to choose a particular brand of vaccine. What is most important is the population immunity. So this wait and see attitude of Ghanaians is not going to help us, because clearly the more you wait and you get infected, you're going to have an outcome. Let me say that what we are doing is that we are even doing hawking, house to house, going from house to house, saying that a vaccine, you come and take. People are not taking the vaccines. And then because the disease burden is low now, people have decided to lay back. And I think that for us, we have engaged a number of leaders to help us push the vaccines. And we have been trying to push some at the markets. We are trying to see how best Ghanaians can take the vaccine. I think that for now, the discussion is taking the vaccine. I mean, trying to explain why we are not getting the disease is a different narrative. But I think for us, what we have is that we have vaccines available. Let's take it. If you look at our data, just 4%, a little over 4% are fully vaccinated. And just about 11% have taken just a shot. So we are way behind our set target. And I think that should be the discussion about how people can take the vaccines.
All right, how do people take the vaccine? I keep asking. You know, we had, at some point, we had put out a number of places that people could go for the vaccines. At some point, we had restricted it. So I don't know if you've opened it up. If you've opened it up, why are we not talking that much about it?
Okay, so if you look at our strategy, we are initially doing what they call the population and then geographic segmentation. We had very limited vaccines, so we said our focus is the at-risk groups. So in that case, we're looking at people who are 60 years and above, people who had underlying medical conditions. And now it's open. Every Ghanaian who's 18 years and above can walk in and get a vaccine. And all the 62 city districts in the country have vaccines. And we have all the vaccination centers are open. So just walk in and you get a vaccine. And let me say that, you know, we used to have this challenge about UK and others not accepting our program. Now it's accepted. So I don't see what is it that we want, what is holding us. Our doors are open, the vaccines are available. Please, let's patronize the vaccines.
All right, so I'll be coming to you a little later to get to understand, because I know people who say they want the vaccine, except they don't know where to go. But I'll ask Professor Sego. Professor Sego, are you aware how people can readily get the vaccine?
Yeah, I'm sure. I know the vaccine is available. For example, in my church, arrangements were being made to come and make those who have not been vaccinated. So I know that the vaccine is available. I know that there is abundance of vaccine. And in Kolebu, vaccination is going on. So, I mean, yes, to that extent, I know that vaccination is going on.
So
that there is enough, more than enough vaccine around to go around.
So, Professor Sego, you're saying that at Kolebu, people can come in, walk into Kolebu. Where exactly can they go? Yeah, the public health department, I know, is vaccinating. I can verify. You can call later whether they are also given for outsiders. But I think they are, because the vaccines are available. And I think that's what Dr. Sidi was trying to say, that all vaccination centers have vaccines. And so if you go to places like at the Baka Polyclinic, etc., you should be able to get the vaccine. It should be like any other vaccine available for you to take. All right. But what do you make of people, you know, vaccine hesitant, people being offered the vaccines and they're unwilling to take?
Well, I mean, people have genuine concerns. And I think one of the big problems is the vaccine platforms are new platforms. But science has shown that you can use some of these platforms to be able to do some of these things. So maybe for now, I don't know. I know the ministry did some sort of a survey. But I think that it will be interesting to find out from a small cross-section of people who have vaccine hesitancy. I mean, not necessarily that you want to vaccinate the person says no, and then we ask why. So that there's this, not necessarily doing a big study, but in their outreach program, responding and asking, why don't you want to take the vaccine? So that they can get a cross-section from different communities, and that's important. Because the people living in some communities counted as maybe not have a different idea as people maybe living, for example, in residential areas or who are in a certain class. So I think that we should be able to sample smaller bits of people, not like a formal study, but just to get some feedback from those who are going around vaccinating to ask, if you want to take the vaccine, no, why don't you want to take? Just so that we can have an idea of people's the real reason for the hesitancy. Whether it's because the cases are coming down, it's because people are still afraid how the outputs what the output would be like. And maybe it would be interesting for the ministry also to be able to, or Ghana Health Service, to be able to put out some data of so far, for example, the deaths that have occurred because of vaccines, etc., or the risk of dying when you are vaccinated. So maybe with all these things, people may consider the vaccination.
Yeah.
So I think we need to find out, because people have concerns. So we have to meet them at their concern, at their point of need. And if you want to meet them at their point of need, you have to understand why the person doesn't want to take it.
Kwame Safoyensie, do you have any ideas as to why people will be hesitant when it comes to taking the vaccine?
I'm not too sure, but I think I would agree with both Professor Sego and Dr. Siedibekwe that people have a misconception around the speed with which these vaccines have been developed. I have occasion to tell people that I find that a rather untenable argument to make, even though I can understand the speed being used. Because if you look, if 11% of people have had one dose in Ghana and 4% are fully vaccinated, how many millions of people are that? What is the percentage of people who are vaccinated in Ghana for childhood diseases? Now look at the global picture. How many doses of these vaccines have been given globally? And what are the mortality rates? We only hear people pick up on one death that has happened to someone who's been vaccinated without knowing the idiosyncrasies of that particular incident and using it to try and fuel vaccine, negative response. I believe that that is what we need to start fighting against, because we need to start putting the data out. Yes, even if the Ghana Health Service doesn't have the data, one thing I know is that you can get the data from other Johns Hopkins, from Public Health England, Public Health Scotland, and the data is disaggregated. You can tell the number of Black people who've taken it, Hispanics who've taken it, Southeast Asians who've taken it. We can get the percentages of people who've taken it, who have been vaccinated, who've then fallen ill, who've subsequently passed away. The numbers are very negligible. I have the UK data, but I hesitate to share it now. But the numbers are very, very negligible.
Right.
So is it that we have to go on and advance with this information? Because one thing I've realized is people who feel vaccine hesitancy are very aggressive. They get the slightest information, like we see with what's going on with Colin Powell now. They get the slightest information and they run with it. But when you hit back to them and say, this is the particular idiosyncrasy of this particular incident, these are the nuances around this person.
They are not
interested. They are not interested. And so I think we shouldn't be waiting for these incidents to come, but we should rather be putting the information out and saying, look, this thing happened with measles. When the world felt measles was all but eradicated, some people linked measles to, autism, and some people decided not to give vaccinations to their children. What happened? There was measles outbreaks in these countries, even amongst children who had been vaccinated, just that the children who had been vaccinated didn't get it badly. Yeah. So what is happening with COVID is man-made. It's because you are not going for the vaccine. Don't blame the vaccine for something that you're culpable in creating. And I think that is how we would have to approach it.
Okay. Dr. Siedibekwe, some time ago, we heard the Ghana Health Service talk about the fact that workplaces, for instance, were hotspots and they were areas of concern to the Ghana Health Service. As far as COVID-19 is concerned, would you say same, or would you say, for instance, that the vaccination rollout or the vaccine rollout has improved the situation in workplaces?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that if you try to look at the Ghanaians vaccinated, a reasonable number of middle and upper middle class have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And they are somehow protected. You see, so one thing which is happening is that based on our analysis, what is happening, there are some few factors which is impeding people taking the vaccine. One, people preferred the Johnson & Johnson because they think that it's more convenient. You get one shot, you get some kind of protection.
All right.
Two, this issue about the AZ, it started with all sort of issues about getting clots.
Blood clots.
Then the other issue about not being accepted in UK and the EU. So it means that most of our vaccines, about 60% of our vaccines that we have in countries is AZ. That's AstraZeneca. So if you have these negative issues around it, pushing it becomes very challenging. So now that at least the UK has kind of agreed that they fully accept our product. So in that case, that misconception is going to be addressed. We're going to actually push hard. Now, if you look at Johnson & Johnson, you're going to have a second dose as a booster. So in that case, that idea of convenience is not neither here nor there. So those were a few factors that were kind of impeding our drive to get people. So what we try to do is that we've now tried to open up. We're going to have a meeting with all the regional directors about innovative ways of trying to get the vaccines to the average Ghanaian. As I said, you see, Ghana, we were able to get more vaccines because of how efficient our program was. When people like Congo DR and things were not able to use the vaccine, they brought them to Ghana.
Yeah.
Because within a month, we can exhaust several thousands of vaccines. So because of that efficiency is how come Europe and Western world are giving us the vaccines. So if you are not able to use the vaccines now, then that advantage is lost out. So that's how we want to employ all Ghanaians to let's sure that now that we have very low cases being recorded, this is a time to build the population immunity. And then if maybe there may be a new variant, you protect it. Because clearly, you cannot be sure that there will not be a new variant. The only surety is that do you have the population immunity to fight against that new variant? I mean, that is the question. So for us, the next few weeks, then that's going to be our drive. And we hope that people like Israel are going to help us. Let's see how the Ghanaian can get it. In the time price of vaccine access, now we have quite a reasonable number. It's not too much, but I think it's good enough to get population of about 20%, 30% fully immunized.
All right. I think that the Ghana also is probably not making that much noise about where people can get the vaccine. So maybe that's another thing. But then I also look at workplaces, and I use multimedia as an example, where we've had a significant number of people getting the vaccine. And so in recent times, we don't hear of people getting COVID and having to be away from work and all of that. Maybe if we're using these examples of workplaces where a significant number of people have been vaccinated, and telling that story, then others will get encouraged.
Okay, so I think that we trying to find out which people are not vaccinated. As I said, we know a reasonable number of middle class and upper middle class are vaccinated, and that's where the workers in Joy fit in. So the idea is that the average Ghanaian who is busy on the market is interested in the vaccine. I mean, so we are trying to review our communication strategy, how best to beat the Ghanaian. I mean, to convince them that the vaccines are available. I mean, we had an initial challenge. I mean, the zeal of the Ghanaian is gone down. When they were keen to get the vaccine, we didn't have the vaccine. I mean, we kept on moving from 4 weeks to 8 weeks to 12 weeks. So now we are now trying to get them on board. And I think that it's a wake-up call for all of us to heighten our communication to get them on our side.
All right, so we're going to open the phone lines and get those of you who are watching, if you have any questions at all, where to get the vaccine or whatever is causing your hesitancy or causing you not to go out for the vaccine, please let us know. Our numbers is 030, they're on the screen, 030-221-1691 or 2. Call us and let us know what you think. But Dr. Sedubekwa, I'd also want to know, we have 2,400 active cases. I'm interested, where are these cases coming from? Because we've talked about workplaces and the middle class, a significant number of people getting vaccinated. Are we still recording cases amongst these people, or where are the cases coming from?
If you look at the cases, so Accra remains our hotspot. And then, there were two main hotspot regions. So it was Accra and Greater Accra, Accra and Ashanti. Now, Ashanti is recording very low cases. So it's now Greater Accra, and then we have a border region and a bit of Eastern. Then we had a few in the northern parts of the country. So Accra is clearly the dominant region. And let me say that there are instances that you may get somebody traveling from Accra to a community which is a naive community, I mean, in that case, they don't have any protection against the virus. So when you get such a case, then you tend to have the community spread as an outbreak. But it tends to, if you look at it, it's like on and off. So the dominance of the cases is still greatly Greater Accra. Water region had some reasonable cases, but it was in Pando, Ho, and others is gone down. We also were having some cases in Upper West, and I think that they had a funeral and some people moved from Accra to that place. They went to infect them. But what is good is that Upper West is vaccinating a lot of their indigents. So clearly they are building their kind of population immunity that we think that it will avert any outbreak. So clearly the challenge is Greater Accra.
Are you able to tell the population segments where this is happening?
Oh, it's a bit of scattered. If you try to look at Greater Accra, the dominant districts are Ayawasa West, Koleklote, Adenta, Ponkatama. So some of them, it happens to a few workplaces and then it's resolved. So it is not a kind of persistent place that you can narrow down. But clearly, if you look at the data, you realize that most of the people who are infected are actually vaccinated. And let me say that if you look at, though our data is not big, the Ghanaians that have had severe disease are actually those who have not been vaccinated. There have been 1 or 2 people who have died, and they had multiple underlying medical conditions. I mean, that one clearly predisposes you to a very low level of immunity. So clearly, if you have a bad outcome, it's understood. So if you talk about Colin Powell, he had a number of issues. So but clearly, what is crucial is that the vaccine gives protection. So that is a message that we want to push across. And one thing we also want to push across, this idea of being fixated on Johnson & Johnson has not been a good thing for us. I mean, I'm sure if you didn't have any Johnson & Johnson and you had only AZ, I mean, people would have gone for it. Now, there are kind of options. There's also a wait-and-see attitude about when are you going to release the Johnson & Johnson and we go for it. But we want to stress that for us as a country, so far as the vaccines were pre-qualified by WHO, that the efficacy is more than 50%, it's good to be effective. So you don't need to wait, that you want to wait for Johnson & Johnson, you want to wait for Pfizer, you want to wait for Moderna, because maybe whilst you wait, that's the time that you may get infected and the outcome may be fatal.
Yeah.
So luckily, all the vaccines we have in the country are effective for use.
All right, and I can say that I had AstraZeneca and I'm fine. Now, the other thing is, I just got a question coming through. Have we been able to resolve the issue with the validation of the vaccination cards?
Yeah, so we had a challenge of the data. So what we try to do is that we set up 2 sites. One is that you can walk into any district health directorate and ask your card to be validated. So to be done for free. Or we have a desk, what you call the COVID-19 vaccination verification desk at the airport. So when you go in there, you just give your card to them, and then the portal staff will validate it for you. So now there's no issue about, it's about just going to any of these places, and then they will check whether your data is verified.
All right, so we're still taking your calls. Just let us know whatever questions you have for the scientists or for the Ghana Health Service, where they're online to help you and to answer those questions. Dr. Kwame Safon Esiedu, there was an issue with the vaccination, well, Ghana's status when it comes to people traveling to the UK and the rest. Are you able to enlighten us on where the UK, or what the UK position is right now as far as people who have taken the vaccines and are coming into the UK?
Well, yes, I mean, it's changed significantly. In the past 2 weeks, there have been significant changes. In fact, it's interesting to say, I was talking to my brother backstage a few days ago, and we're discussing this. And what has changed now is that even when you're coming from Ghana, you don't need a pre-travel PCR test. If what Kofi is saying has been done, your card is vaccinated and your QR code works, because they are not going to take your paper card as proof of your vaccination. So what happens is that if you've been doubly vaccinated and you can prove it, you use that to fill, what do you call it, a day 2 test form. You fill the day 2 test form, which then means when you arrive in the UK, you don't require a PCR test. But you fill a day 2 test form for an antigen test. It's no longer a PCR test. That antigen test then gives you a code, and you use it to fill your passenger locator form. So when you get to the airport in the UK, you don't have a PCR test. You go through immigration and customs as normal. You enter the country, and then by the time you arrive at the address you gave, your day 2 test will be there.
All right.
You self-sample, you send it to the address because they are certified post boxes for Public Health England. So you put it in the post box, it gets picked up, sent to the testing site, and your test is done immediately. If your result is negative, you continue walking around. If your result is positive, then you need to isolate. So that is the change. And the people would say, well, why are you allowed to walk around for those 2 days? The reason is that the data coming from the UK public health authorities is people doubly vaccinated who've come into the UK, only about 0.3% have ever tested positive. That is too low for you to quarantine 99+% of people.
All right.
So that is the change that has happened to Ghana, and it's applicable to Ghana from the 25th of October.
Okay, Kwame, just clarify for us, please. When you say doubly vaccinated, what do you mean?
So doubly vaccinated means fully vaccinated. You know, we use doubly simply because most of the vaccines are 2 doses. So for example, if you've had Johnson & Johnson, is a single vaccine, so you are fully vaccinated. But for all the other vaccines, you would have had to have 2 jabs at least 3 weeks apart and not more than 12 weeks apart. So that is what the doubly vaccinated status is.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. Let's get onto the phone lines now and bring you in. Our first caller is Frank. He's calling us from Dodowa. Frank, good morning. Okay, Abdul Latif is also calling us from Kumasi. Abdul, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Who do you have a question for?
Yeah, my question is going to any one of them who can answer me.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
It's like the centers are not many and are not visible. So from my area like this, I don't even see where I can vaccinate myself. So they should educate us, or they should show us exactly where we should go so that we'll be able to get the vaccine.
All right. So I'll put that to, take that to the doorstep of Dr. Franklin Sedubekwe. So here is a case, Abdul Latif is saying that, yes, they don't know where to go to get the vaccine. So more publicity around the vaccination centers, I believe, would help.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know you kept on asking that where are we supposed to get vaccinated. So it clearly tells that the visibility is not very profound. So we have a meeting for all the regional directors today, and we're going to make sure that that is going to be very visible. You know, we sent out some flyers in the past, and I think that we need to make it more publicized so people can actually know where to go. But what is issue is any clinic, any hospital who is around your locality, you can just walk in and it's a vaccination point. We used to set up what they call outreach points. Maybe that one is minimal now, but every clinic or every hospital, we do vaccination now.
Every hospital, public, private?
No, it's mainly public.
All right.
There are a few private, but I think what we'll do is that we'll try and send more of the flyers that will actually guide you which even private is part of it. But every public facility offers vaccination.
All right.
Right, thank you. We have Inti Mensah calling from Wa. Inti, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, what's your issue?
Hello?
Hi, good morning. Inti Mensah, what's your issue?
I also think the Ghana Health Service needs to increase their education. Because I can see that most of the radio stations are not talking about the vaccination issue. But people produce the data they are coming to the person. So I think Ghana Health Service or those teams who are in charge of this COVID pandemic issue need to do advertisement on a timetable. This day we are coming to this area. To do announcements on the bureau radio station, telling the areas that they will go in, so that the people
Okay.
Sometimes they will sit down and the people will just come. The community people will not even be aware that massive people are coming to give them COVID-19 system for them to take. So that's another appeal I want to take. So they should try as much as possible to increase the education with the media so that to arrest the masses why they're supposed to take the vaccine. It's important, which can also help us to reduce it. If the otherwise region, I can tell you we are patronizing it. But even some places, people will tell you that the vaccine is because our people are patronizing them. So we are appealing to the Ghana Health Service. They should bring that forward. If other people
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Inti, for that. We have Samuel, who's our last caller. Samuel, what's your issue?
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes. My challenge is I took my first dose in the second week of April, and up to date, I have not gotten the second dose.
Okay.
Should I go for the current one, or I still wait for the dose which will come? Probably, I don't know the time you will come.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by what should you wait for the current one. Should we ask Dr. Asiedu Bekwin as well? Is it possible for you to answer for that? Answer us, Doc, for that.
Hello. Hello.
Prof, we're listening.
Hello. So I'm surprised Mr. Antara hasn't gotten his second dose. I think the vaccines are available, and as I said, you walk into any health facility with your card and then you'll be vaccinated. So please, there's nothing that should stop you from getting vaccinated. In the time past, we didn't have the vaccines. Now the vaccines have been there, for the past 6 weeks. So please go to any public health facility, you get vaccinated. I think one thing that we very much appreciate today is a feedback, is we need to make ourselves more visible, we need to engage the community more to make sure that they know that vaccines are available.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you so much. Samuel, I hope that answers you. Just go to your nearest hospital, public hospital, and if you go with your card, it will show that you've had your first shot. Hopefully it hasn't been more than 12 weeks. And then you can have your second shot. Don't stay home. Get out there and get vaccinated. A very big thank you to Kwame Sapon-Asiedu, who joined us, Dr. Franklin
Asiedu Bekwin of the Ghana Health Service, and Professor Kwame Nasego, who also joined us. We appreciate all that you said. And yes, we're available. I'm available. I'm sure anyone is available to help with the rollout of the vaccines if you need us.
Fantastic story there, and great talent. But let's move on and talk about our Joy Habitat Fair. EcoBank Joy Habitat Fair is happening from the 27th to the 31st of this month. But joining me this morning is Mr. Joseph Boachidankwa. He's the CEO for Renters Paradise. He's one of the sponsors for this year's fair. Good morning and welcome. Okay, so just run through what the first mini clinics were like for you.
Let me say hello to your viewers. The first clinics, I think we've gone to 3 of them, and they were all very insightful.
Okay.
And, we got to interact with a lot of potential clients or customers. We met people in the industry, and so to me, it was a very positive step that we took in partnership with you.
Okay. So Renters Paradise is bringing people and homes together. That's it sounds very romantic. It's like a matchmaking service. Trying to, yeah. Do you want to tell us, exactly what it is?
Yes.
That you do?
Like you just said, we bring property owners and property users together harmoniously. And if I say property owners, I mean people who own houses, commercial buildings, offices, for sale and for rent, land. And so we take them and bring them to those who are in need of property to either buy, to rent, or to, if it's land, to buy or lease. So if you are looking to sell your house or sell your land or rent out your house, or even to have a company to manage it for you, then Renters Paradise is the company you want to talk to.
Okay.
Because we will also bring you the kind of quality renters that tenants that you need. And then we also connect you to people who are buying, who want to buy your home or your house or your commercial building or your land. And because we have a broad network of platforms around the globe, if you bring your property to us to either sell or manage it for you, we can find you tenants or buyers quicker than the regular agent that works on the streets.
Okay, I mean, so most people use an agent, you know, and then there's all sorts of charges and all sorts of wahala. What are some of the unique selling points that you have, you know, as a company, as opposed to, you know, the regular agents on the street?
Yes, like you just said, all sorts of charges. If you deal with Renters Paradise, all those illegal charges, you don't have to go through that. You know, it is illegal here to charge 10% from a renter to help them find a place to sleep. And also, if you deal with us, Renters Paradise, we make sure that your peace of mind is always assured. And why do we say that? If you are the property owner, we bring you tenants that are credible because we do a background check and make sure that these are the people that you will require to live in your property. And we make sure that we enforce every tenancy agreement that you sign with the renters or whoever comes to live in your apartment. So your property is protected. And also, because you are dealing with a recognized company, you deal with professionals. We have management professionals that will deal with you and your potential tenants. So you don't have to deal with people who are just interested in taking money from you.
Yeah.
And when time comes for you to even look for them, you can't find them.
You can't find them.
But we are a registered company that you can always find where we are, and we have credible people working in our company. So you don't have that
risk.
That risk of giving your money to somebody that you can never find. No.
Okay.
You can always find us, and we are also interested in making sure that you are happy, so that you come back to us.
Okay.
We don't mind losing some revenue just to make you happy.
I see.
That's what we do.
Okay. It sounds good. So what are you offering, you know, those who be coming to the Habitat Fair on the 27th, from the 27th to 31st?
Yeah, if you come there and you are a renter, we will make sure you get your place at no charge to you, no cost. If you're a property owner, if I will slash our commission down by half.
Okay.
So our commission ranges from 2 to 5% to the property owner. If you come to us at the fair, you get half off. So that sounds
really good.
That's a big bonanza. And for the renters and buyers, if you come to the fair and you buy a house or buy a land or rent an apartment from us, you get it basically for free.
Wow. Okay, that sounds really exciting.
Yes.
So we encourage you to pop by and the stand with Renters Paradise when you get to the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, which is happening on the 27th to the 31st of October. Okay, so before you leave us, anything else you'd like us to know?
Yes, I just want to tell, especially people who are living outside the country. I used to live there too, so I know what it is. If you have a property in Ghana here that you are living in the hands of friends and family who are stiffing, it's a bit risky.
It's a bit risky, yeah.
Call us, call Renters Paradise, and make sure that we take over your property, manage it for you. Your money will always be assured. Your peace of mind will be assured. We'll make sure that your property is managed professionally. That's why we call ourselves the professional landlords.
Yes.
So we will make sure that your property, wherever it is in Ghana, in fact, right now we are concentrating in Accra and Kumasi.
Okay.
We have office in Kumasi. Our office in Accra is at North Legon, opposite Papa's Pizza.
Okay.
And in Kumasi, we are in next to True Vine Hotel.
Okay.
So if you're looking for us, you can go there. We also have our phone numbers that I can put out there.
They're actually on the screen right now.
Yeah. So you can call us or go to our website at rentersparadisegh.com and interact with us. You can send us a message, or you can follow our social media handles and send us a message and talk to us.
Okay.
We are ready to help you and prepared to make you happy.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And like I said, just pass through Renters Paradise when you get to the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. It's happening on the 27th of October to the 31st at the Accra International Conference Center, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day. So do pass by. It sounds like you'll get some really, really good deals. Okay, we're going on a short break. When we come back, Israel will be bringing us another conversation. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so the conversation that Nima told you I was going to have with you has to do with these wonderful looking tissues. They're not just ordinary tissues. We're going to be learning a bit more about them, but they're called the Flora disposable handkerchiefs. And I have with me Barbara Inkum from Delta Paper Mill Limited, and is going to be telling us all about it. Okay, so we have them looking also beautiful. It looks like the regular tissue, but you'd prefer to call them the handkerchiefs.
Yes.
Why so?
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
We call them handkerchiefs because they are handkerchiefs. The difference is that they are not cloth handkerchiefs, but they are tissue handkerchiefs. And since January, we've been making a lot of noise about this particular product.
And I've heard about
yes, that Flora disposable handkerchief.
I don't call them noise. Noise sounds something unpleasant.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, we've been doing a lot of education, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of education, because we realize that Ghanaians are used to cloth handkerchiefs. I mean, growing up, we all always used to carry handkerchiefs everywhere we go. Yeah. And then COVID came, and we were all looking for alternatives. And then we realized we have this wonderful product. It's on the market, but people have not thought of it as handkerchiefs. So we said, why don't we do a campaign, launch a campaign, let people know that it's more hygienic to use tissue than cloth handkerchief. And then we have this product, disposable handkerchiefs, 10 in a pack. You carry it on you everywhere you go. So it's a wonderful product, and it's a handkerchief.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially I can replace this with, young men or boys and men. Young men are advised that you should, one thing a gentleman should keep on him all the time is a handkerchief. I can replace this.
Yes.
So that if I meet a lady who happens to need a handkerchief, and I can pull this out and give to them. Is there anything special about it that makes it the handkerchief of choice?
Okay, so in the tissue industry, the whiter the tissue, the more hygienic it is.
All right.
So you will see that with our Flora disposable handkerchiefs, they are very white. When you bring it out, they are very white tissues, and they are big enough. They are just about the size of a normal handkerchief.
Or mini handkerchief. This looks like the lady's handkerchief.
Yes, but it's 3-ply.
All right.
So it's very absorbent. It's very thick. So if you take your time to pull it apart, see that it's 3 tissues together. So that makes it ideal for everybody, even for the gentleman, because it's absorbent.
All right.
It's not really about having it the size of the very big cloth handkerchief we have, but how absorbent it is. And then you can dispose of it immediately after use. And with this particular product, you have 10 in this pack.
Okay.
So you can afford to throw one away and still have some left for the day.
All right. And how affordable is it?
Okay, so mostly people retail the whole pack like this for 5 cedis, and it's got 10 in it. So
5 cedis, that's quite reasonable.
Yeah, so it's reasonable, and we encourage people. Normally, it's the school children that take it to school a lot, and then usually find the ladies. But I have some gentlemen that really use it. If I have some followers at multimedia who always use my product, actually, they always call me, and they are men.
I've just become a follower.
Yeah, so it's a good product. And we want everybody to continue to use it.
And where are they that readily available?
Yeah, they are. They are. And those who use it will notice that it's changed. The package has changed.
Okay.
It used to be, it used to have flowers on it. It was of a different kind. And now we've rebranded it. So it looks all beautiful. We have about 5 colors in a pack.
Okay.
So you can choose your color. And now we have, Flora used to be Flora, but now we have Flora Joy and you have Flora Smile.
Okay.
So you see that this package is Flora Smile, and then this what you have in your hand is Flora Joy, and they all look different.
So you said this one is all white, but this one has some colors on it.
Yeah, no, this one it's not on the tissue, it's on the package.
Okay, it's on the package.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
it's
beautiful. And I see the other things that you have here. So you guys just don't do the disposable handkerchiefs. You also have these tissues. So this one, typically for the car,
Yes, and for offices as well.
And for offices as well. And then we also have this one.
Yes. This one is what people normally use to wrap spoons. We call it table napkins. Yeah. So we have Flora table napkins. It's also, the package comes in about 6 different colors and it's available on the market.
And then you also have the regular toilet roll.
Yeah, so we already have toilet roll on the market and we've also rebranded that one as well. So now all our Flora products are coming out as Flora Joy, Flora Smile, or Flora Giant. So this is the Flora Smile for the toilet roll.
Okay.
And it's big, I mean, it's very heavy and it's thick. So you can use it for whatever you want to use it for.
Whatever.
Yes.
And then there's also the
giant
towels.
Yes. So this towel, we call it Flora Giant. Actually, it's the biggest roll on the market. It weighs almost 1 kg. And so you can use it for cleaning your hands in the kitchen. I know people who use it to clean their face after washing their face. So it's multi-purpose. That's the name for it.
Okay.
So every type of tissue you are looking for, we have some. Flora has some. And you can find it on the market, branded as Flora Joy, Flora Smile, or Flora Giant.
Okay. So your final message to us?
Okay, so I'll say that if you want to know more about our product, you should follow us on social media, Flora by Delta Paper Mill, on Facebook and on Instagram. And our phone number is 0243-033-033. And we are here, we are in Tema. Everything you see is made in Ghana.
Okay, go over the numbers again so people can take it, take it slowly.
0243-033-033.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara Inkum, for coming through. So Barbara is from Delta Paper Mill, and they make the Flora disposal handkerchiefs, which I've just become a disciple. Thank you. And up next, we have very little time, but we have Dinah Hamilton in the studio. We'll be back with you in a bit. Don't go anywhere. All right, so Dinah was supposed to have joined us a while back, but she couldn't. But finally, she's made it into the studio. And so what we're going to do is going to have the conversation with her. We'll record it. But to the many fans out there, I have to say hi to them.
I feel like crying, but I'm glad we can do it tomorrow. So forgive me.
I know. So I was very much looking forward to having that conversation. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you.
GMA UK
yes.
Awards Artist of the Year.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank
you. So yes, we're going to have the conversation and then we'll bring that to you tomorrow. But thank you very much for being on the AM show. It's good to have Dinah Hamilton. How about you sign us for us? Maybe sing and then we go.
That's a good one. That's easy. If I was supposed to say something, that would have been difficult. Yeah. But so the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I do.
Thank you.
Thank you too.